Hi, I'm Dr. Michele Fiala from Ohio University in Athens, Ohio. Thank you for joining me again for part 2 of the 2021 Ohio Music Educators Association All-State Audition excerpts. The second one is from page 23 of that same Selected Studies book edited by Voxman. This one is from a collection of etudes by Heinze. The tempo you choose in this one it should be governed by how fast you can play those sextuplet 30 seconds down at the bottom. So if you're thinking the eighth note beat, it'll be da-ga-da, 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 and you'll really have to make sure that you can play those at the right tempo. It's almost chromatic until you get to the end of the first measure, and then you've got that G to A natural, which is tricky. And so for me, I settled around 80 to the eighth note, which is not dissimilar to my tempo on the other etude. I'm finding they land in the same range. So when you are doing the 32nd note passages in this, I think the different rhythms practice that we discussed in the first video is just crucial on all of this. And then obviously you wouldn't do just one measure of that. You would go through the entire passage with each rhythm. I was just demonstrating briefly since we had discussed that concept in the first video. You can see that I stopped right on the downbeat where there's that funny little squiggly line. That one's called a mordant, and it means you go from the main note up and back down just at the beginning of the beat. So from E flat to F and back down. So all you have to do is wiggle. You would actually cover up your half and put on your octave key for this. And that's not the way you would play E flat normally, but if you play it, most oboes, it'll make the F squawk, rather than if you use what's basically an F, a fourth F fingering, and then you just put this down for the E flat. It works pretty well for a mordant. That's obviously not the E flat you would want to use normally, because opening up your half hole and taking your octave key makes the E flat more in tune. This goes by very quickly though. And that happens a couple of different times, both with the same note. So it's just got to fit in the space of that 32nd note, and it's just like a little tiny triplet in there. You also have another ornament in measure 2, which is a gruppetto or turn. And you see there's a natural. What that means is you go from the F up to G, and you can use the trill fingering where you just lift this, and back to F, you go to E natural when you go to the note below, since it's below that gruppetto, and then you go back to F. So that was me going into the next bar, so it sounded like. So that gruppetto takes place in that 1/8 note of the F, and then you're right back in rhythm on the downbeat of the next measure. The biggest thing with this one is coming up with a breathing plan, and I've worked with that over the last couple of weeks as I've been practicing it, coming up with a good breathing plan. So I'm now going to share my screen where I'm going to try to share my breathing plan with you, and hopefully you'll be able to see it well. I'll make it big. And you can see, hopefully you can see the cursor moving also. Obviously in the beginning you have some good spots for breaths. If you need one after this, you can feel free to. And then you've got a good spot here. I think this is a great spot. Even if you don't feel like you need it yet, it can be hard to get a breath down in here. So this is a good phrase spot to get a breath. I break this slur here and get a good breath before that pick up to the next measure. And then I get in one more breath here. Then you've got a good spot to kind of recuperate. I think this is a great spot before this new phrase happens, and then this one before that new phrase happens. This one again here. So you're stocked up a little bit when you have several of those nice breaths in a row. And then you're ready to make it to here. If you need something emergency, you could take something there. I think I've marked that for emergency. And then and the next spot I feel is good is right here, because from there on it's really hard to find a place to breathe. You could maybe catch one right after that beat. You notice that you don't tend to breathe on bar lines. You tend to carry over and find where the end of the musical sentence is. Just like when you're reading a book, you don't breathe at the end of the line. You know that you wait until a comma or a period. So we're looking for the commas or the periods in music. So you could breathe last here or maybe here if you need something, and then hopefully you can make it all the way to there where you feel free to break the slur after the downbeat and get a good breath before this, and then you can get one more good breath before you go out to the end here. So hopefully that breathing plan will be helpful to you. Hopefully you heard that in a couple of crucial cadence points, which are resolution points, I tried to take a little bit of time before the end of the cadence so that I could have a little extra time to breathe, and then it makes the music feel a little more punctuated, and it can feel good to the listener also to make it more clear where the starting and ending points are in the music. It also makes the performer feel better when we can breathe a little bit better. I had to find some spots where I would exhale and some spots where I would inhale, because otherwise you can start feeling stuffed up if you have stale air in your lungs that you haven't been able to get out through the small opening in the reed. Fingering wise, I try to use regular F whenever I can, and a left F if I'm unable to use regular F, because they sound the same and they're equally in tune. There are occasionally spots where you have, for instance, in the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th system, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th bar, you have E flat followed by a left F, and then it can be hard to get to the A flat. So you can either use your right hand A flat, or while you're holding the F, you can actually switch. That's what I did, from left hand to right hand, so that you can use your left hand pinky for A flat. It'll sound like this. But the right hand A flat also works. Which brings up a good point about these downward slurs. They can be very difficult to perform, E flat down to low F. But if you start on the low F and then hold that note and then finger the E flat, it should be easy to get up the E flat. And if you remain in low F position, you should be able to get back down to the low F. So the lesson is that when you play an E flat, already geared embouchure-wise, roundness, support-wise, making your airflow fast, already geared for the low F, then your low F will speak. Same thing with that F to low G. So if I play the low F and then I finger the E flat, so notice the first time, so when I add open the half hole and finger at E flat, it comes out easily. The first time I was just in a little bit higher position for the E flat, and then the low F doesn't speak as easily. The second time I made sure I was really round and thinking about a low F before I came back to the low F, and it really works well that way. So hopefully that's an exercise that will help with your downward slurs. So try some back and forth with the tricky downward slurs in this. Good luck on your audition, and let me know how it goes, and thank you very much for joining me.